What's up, guys? It's Nate with the Yakuza, here with my good friend,
Do.
and we're doing a Mangacast today, number 3. I'm finally caught up on My Hero. Just caught up a minute ago, actually.
The last video we did was, what was it, All Might and All for One?
They were about to fight.
They were about
well,
to
they,
fight.
like, had kinda... It was very minor fighting, but, like, the actual fight, because I've read it now, it hadn't happened.
Which, in that fight, actually won, like, the anime fight of the year at the Crunchyroll. So, at the Crunchyroll Festival, so we should probably start there. How was it, Nate? How was that fight in comparison to other, like, huge fights? I would compare it to kind of like the third Hokage versus Orochimaru in Naruto. It's like that point in the series, like the big guys.
Well, if we're comparing it to that, I mean, it was a lot better. But compared to other fights that were relevant at the time or semi-relevant,
in My Hero,
or just in general, I think that like just looking at it from a cinematic point, the fight, it was pretty good, but I think there were better fights out there cinematically. But emotionally, that fight drove it home. It was really good. Like, I'm very happy with it. I don't know if I would have gave it that title or award based off of the cinematics, but the cinematics are still good.
The
I just think they're better.
choreography, like
yeah,
the actual tournament.
yeah. Like, I think Naruto Sasuke versus Momoshiki was better
Yeah,
choreography wise,
it was.
but it didn't have the emotion
The
that
build-up
this
and
one
stuff.
did.
Yeah.
This had a build up and a half, and quite the resolution as well, like the way it ended.
Oh
So
my god.
it was a really good fight. It's my favorite fight so far.
I mean, within that fight, there's so many things that happen. We have the Bakugo rescue plan.
Yeah,
We have
which was
that was amazing.
yeah.
What do you think about that?
That was pretty.
sick.
That was pretty good. Yeah, I appreciated that it wasn't an ass pull. Some manga and anime are a little bit guilty of like, oh, like they're completely outclassed, but they do something they shouldn't. Here, it's like, no, they're outclassed. They just run. They get them and they get the hell out.
It's like strategic.
Yeah, and they knew they had to, so that was cool.
It kind of shows off how Midoriya, in his little notebook where he writes about all like the different quotes
Yeah.
and stuff, he actually
They do that a good bit actually.
Yeah,
They
he can
reference that, and I
plan.
appreciate it though.
yeah. And then you obviously have the Shigaraki is the grandson
Oh my god, dude,
of
that was pretty
the
crazy.
previous One for All user. That is mind
That goes with the emotion, because like obviously it pissed All Might off a lot
it broke
to
all
find
my
to
inside.
find that
Oh my god.
find that out. So
That's
that was pretty mind blowing.
and
There,
just
there
how
will
All
probably
Might's
be
still
more
pulling
on that
off
later. Like, I'm just now getting like a little
Yeah.
bit, like they're finally going back to it much later.
a little bit, yeah.
But I'm sure there'll be like a lot of significance there.
And the fact that
some
All
point.
Might pulled it off, and he was out.
Yeah.
He was pretty out. Like, they were both damaged, but like, One for All. I mean, All Might definitely had his back against the wall in that fight. in
Oh
my
yeah,
opinion. Because he had already.
For sure.
If you really think about it, okay, he can only use muscle form for an hour a day, and that's like extremely taxing to his body. He had already that day invaded the League of Villains. He had to search for Bakugo twice. He was
Yeah.
like. He really,
Yeah.
like, he probably went beyond an hour that day.
oh yeah, and I think for sure that he did. And I think that's why like that was it, because not only did he go over the hour, but and like his body was like, it's time, it's turn off time. He was like, no, like I have to fight, and he pushed it, and it killed it, so to say. He was trying to fuel the fire too much. It's kind of like he was fanning the flames that he had, because I showed the flame. He was like fanning that, and he fanned too hard with that final oorah, and it blew the fire
Sure.
out instead of it, festering.
And that's one of my favorite moments in my
Where he's huddled around the fire.
the skinny All Might with the
Yeah.
embers of One for All. It's so beautiful. But
Something that like, or at least I thought as I was reading, and it probably wasn't supposed to be a point, but you have to consider, like, it also not only portrays how he's losing his power and he's desperately clinging to it, but it portrays the pain, because he's like bare skin almost hugging a fire. Like, he's
That's
probably in
true.
excruciating
Oh my
pain
God.
trying to maintain that form.
oh my god, especially with what we find out later on with the Night Eye stuff.
Yeah.
Like, so and then you have that was him. He like even the like he can barely fucking stand, but he still
He
like,
does the
yeah,
the
he goes
fist.
muscle form one more time, and he kinda that's going to be like the fire that ignites the next generation, where you have Bakugo
It definitely
and
ignited
Midoriya.
Midoriya, yeah.
Midoriya and Bakugo, when they were screaming like
Yeah.
for him to win, that's emotional.
That was pretty out of character for Bakugo, so you knew shit was real.
Oh, okay.
It was real bad.
So let's give that like a ranking. What would you give like that out of 10? Like the All Might.
As an arc, like not as a fight, right? Like just did I like that arc?
I'd say from just a
reader's
camping
perspective.
I'd say from the camping trip to Kamina. Like, what would you give that like arc? I'd probably give it like a 9.
Yeah.
8.7. 8.7.
It's hard to say because there's a fine line between who's the main character and who's not, and I always point out it's good usually when manga gives character development to characters that aren't the main character. And as much as I love All Might, as most people do, you saw just very little out of most other characters. You saw some of the higher ranking villains fight them, but it's mainly just All Might. So yeah, I'd probably give it a 9, 8.5 maybe.
It's not like it was Best Genus. Like, All Might is a main character.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I would not have been happy if Best Genus was involved any more than he was.
I thought he died.
Oh, he would have. No.
I thought he died, though, because All Might punched a hole through his stomach.
Yeah.
I thought he died, but he didn't.
But, no, like, and again, like, that's not all entirely bad, so, yeah, I'd probably give it a 9 as well. Because that's, like, I found something wrong with it. I always say, 10 is reserved for, I can't figure out anything wrong with it. And here I can a little bit, but it's not a major issue. It's not like it detracted from my enjoyment. So, yeah, I'd give it a 9 out of 10. It was a very good fit. Like, it was a very fitting end for All Might.
It was sad, too, because you have to get All Might out of the story so Midoriya can grow, but at the same time,
yeah,
like, you want him there.
Well, they did it beautifully, because he's out of the story, but he pulls through for the sake of teaching him, and he lives. But he just can't, like, obviously he's a shell of his former self. So, yeah, it was a fitting end. And then learning about all the Night Eye shit, it makes you realize that All Might really is just, like, a hero, so to say. Like, he just does it for the good of the people. Because he had all that burden on him, and he still, like, pulled through. And obviously, in the back of his mind, he's like, this is what Night Eye saw.
Yeah.
But he manages to alter it, I guess.
I agree, man. So we'll give that probably 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
Now,
it was good.
Moving on point by point, we move on to the upcoming season in the anime, the internship arc. Well, I'm skipping over stuff. I'm skipping over the provisional license, which I would say is because if you think about it in the context of the anime, like the All Might versus All for One fight, which should be the finishing of that season.
Yeah.
But it's only the halfway point. After that, then you go to the provisional licensing. And to me, provisional licensing was not that interesting to me. It was pretty cool. Midoriya definitely was like more dominant than you'd think. But like, it was kind of boring to me. You
also have to be, you're being comparative. Everyone will just by default, or you're being biased because, as you said, you had such an amazing fight and arc prior to that. It just hurts it even more. Because I would agree, I didn't love that arc. It wasn't like super, super exciting or anything like that, but it was all right.
It's like you can't give us All Might versus All for One every. Like.
Yeah, there's got to be some build up so you can appreciate the climax points more. And sometimes they can do it better because we're about to talk about the internship arc, and that was like a textbook perfect way to have build up because it was pretty interesting build up into a really good climax. So yeah, provisional licenses, not much to say. I appreciated that. I assumed Bakugo wasn't going to get his just because he's him. That's his personality. I appreciated Todoroki didn't get his just because everyone thinks he's a prodigy, and it kind of opened people's eyes. Like, we're all heroes, we're all on equal footing. It doesn't matter if you're son of number 2. And even with Bakugo, because from his viewpoint, the son of number 2 didn't get his provisional license, and he's sparring against the number 1's disciple, Midoriya. So it kind of is just to show, like, we're all level here, so to say. If you push yourself, you can get to the height that someone else has kind of been given, so to say.
Yeah, the fact that like Mineta over like Todoroki.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't about them not being strong. It was just
Yeah, exactly. A lot of the people that were there were
morale.
plenty strong enough. It was just that they were doing what a hero should do.
I like one thing to take away from that is I do like the dude with the wind quirk. I can't remember his
Yeah,
name.
I can't remember Shigetsu maybe something like that.
I liked him.
But
okay,
he's pretty cool.
So-
His personality's alright.
the Bakugo versus Midoriya fight.
Oh,
I
that's when he
fucking love that
first
fight,
learns, or whatever, like confirms. I guess he had already been thinking about it, but that's when
All
he
about one
first.
for all.
Yeah. So.
That fight is so fucking good. It's so emotional, and it really like. I love the Midoriya Bakugo friendship in the series, so that like really hit.
That
home
was the
with me.
turning point for me. Like up until that point, Bakugo was kind of just like a dick. I understood that he wanted to do things his way, and he wanted to be a hero, and he wanted to be strong at all costs. That was fine, which is why I was compared to Vegeta, because Vegeta was definitely the same way. Obviously, initially, Vegeta was he was literally a villain. He killed people. But if you take it from like start at Namek, right? It's kind of the same thing where Vegeta, he fights alongside these people. He doesn't want to. He fucking has to.
Yeah.
But so he does that, and eventually he starts to come around, and he's like, I still don't like you people really a whole lot, because that's just my character, but I fucking like you son of a bitch. Like that kind of
Yeah.
thing. That's basically what Bakugo is. He's like, you guys are all fucking leeches. You guys are just below me. You're bugs in my path, but I fucking like you losers.
I think it'll slowly get to the point to where he will beat Midoriya to death if he chooses to, but if Midoriya is in a fight with somebody else and getting beat on, I think that it's getting to that point that it's like, I can beat his ass, but he's my friend, like, you're not going to beat his ass.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely a couple of, I'll mention it now because I can't remember where they fall, but there was definitely character development as it went on. Like, after that fight, actually, that's the very first time, Midoriya and him are talking while they're running the vacuum, because that was like their punishment. And he's just like, oh, what do you think of this? And then he like basically gave him pointers, but like in a dickish kind of way, like being rude about it. But he's still like, he's like, I'll fucking help you. Like, I'll give you some advice. Yeah. So like that was the beginning of like a very beautiful friendship.
And just the scene with Bakugo crying and All Might letting him know that it wasn't his fault.
Yeah.
Everything.
That's true. I actually kind of cut that out a little bit.
And just the fight in general was just a good fight. They were going like at each other.
Yeah, it made Midoriya punch. Like he actually threw a punch because he hadn't been doing that. He'd only been
I'm not
kicking.
supposed to punch.
Yeah, because he was afraid of losing his arms.
But
he just got so worked up.
But I can. Because the beautiful dynamic of that fight, because I don't want to stick on this too long because we have so fucking much to talk about. But the beautiful dynamic of that fight was that, like, okay, the only way for Bakugo to get his feelings out is to fight Midoriya. So Midoriya fights him, but somewhere in the fight, like, Midoriya's like growing up too. He says,
he
I'm not
understands.
gonna be. Yeah, he's like, Midoriya's like they're fighting, and Midoriya's like, I'm fighting you to let your feelings out, but I'm not gonna be your punching bag anymore at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a.
Yeah.
I love that.
Outside, it was definitely the start of it was a turning point for their friendship.
I won't be your.
Because even All Might pointed out while they were fighting, he's like, they've been friends since they were kids, and they've never talked about this ever. Like they've never like thrown their emotions and feelings towards each other in the open. But now they have.
It really starts the whole, which this is going to be a thing until All Might passes, that it's like Midoriya, Bakugo, All Might. They're like kind of like a trio now.
Yeah.
Instead of it just being like All Might.
Yeah, because they had a meeting later on about the vestiges. And like he's like, why's Bakugo here? I was surprised to see you here.
So, moving on from there, we get into what I think is the best arc in My Hero, one of my favorite manga arcs in general, and it's going to be what Season 4 is about. And Season 4 might, like, people are saying that it might be the best season of My Hero, and that is the Internship arc. We get the introduction to the Big Three.
Yeah, which I've theorized that Bakugo, Midoriya, and Todoroki will eventually become the new Big Three at some point.
Yeah, they definitely will.
I'd like to see them takes number 3.
I'd like to see them fight them for that too.
That'd be interesting.
In front of the school,
that'd be
like
very
some kind of
interesting.
sports festival type thing. Like maybe Bakugo versus Sun Eater. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'd like to see Bakugo versus Mirio just because I have this thing.
Yeah, see, that's what I want.
Bakugo wasn't at like the Mirio fight. Neither was Todoroki, but I would just like to see Bakugo, because Bakugo's that's what I like about Bakugo's character is that he's not just like some meathead. Like Bakugo's like he gets like the best scores on the test. Like he's a smart dude.
Yeah.
So I feel
He's
like
just a dick.
I feel like if Bakugo was there against Mirio, I still think Mirio would have beat him, but I think that he would have saw maybe a weakness that no one else saw.
I don't know that no one else would see it, because Midoriya is also very, very strategic, and he analyzes everything in a fight. So I think he might pick it up.
But he was a little
even
intimidated.
Todoroki, but
I just think Bakugo's, I don't know, just his battle wit, just like when Aizawa was like, yeah, Mirio's the closest to number one, and in my head I'm like, is he though? Because the second that Mirio goes underground and he loses all senses, literally Endeavor can just make all the ground lava, and as soon as Mirio comes up, he'll fucking be burned alive.
yeah. I think you're taking it out of context. I don't think Aizawa was meaning Mirio strength-wise is close to number one.
He said including the heroes.
Yeah, I know. Not strength-wise, though. He means Mirio, in terms of his personality and why he fights, is closest to number one. Because he is like Midoriya and All Might. He's like very pure, and he just wants to fight for the good. Like,
Yeah.
even Midoriya offered him his quirk after he lost his, and he's like, nah, I don't want that. Not in the least.
I could see that.
So I think that's what he meant by it.
I don't agree with that, but I could see that. Just because they were talking about like fighting, and being a number one hero does have something to do with strength as well. But I definitely see what you're saying. But moving on to the internship arc, where, because that's like, I guess that is the internship arc, but it's at the end of season 3.
We're not missing anything, right? I just want to make sure, because
No.
I've read so much, guys.
Yeah,
I've read,
he just got caught up today.
Yeah, I literally read 10 chapters before this video, so I'm just trying to make sure we're not missing. Because sometimes we'll get like little snippets of League of Villains stuff here and there. I'm trying to make sure we're not omitting any of that accidentally.
We're not.
Okay.
The next thing to talk about is
Midoriya
because
under Night Eye. Huh?
Midoriya under Night Eye.
Oh yeah, and then it cuts to League of Villains stuff.
The Shigaraki and Overhaul's first shit.
I don't know if that's happens before or after. They're kind of simultaneous. So.
It happens before that, but if we touch on every single point, this would be a long video.
Well,
which it can be, guys. if you want it.
There's nothing to really say about that situation except
Shigaraki and Chisaki. Shigaraki and Chisaki like basically just sizing each other up in a way, like kind of like
fairly unimportant. The guy who looks like a girl, or sorry, the girl who looks like a guy, who's called Big Sis, dies.
Oh, the magnet guy.
Yeah,
That was shocking. He's like,
yeah, he just
especially when you
murders.
don't know what Overhaul's quirk is, and you just see he makes this guy fucking just disappear.
Yeah, and then he also rips off disintegrates that other guy's arm.
Oh, compress. Yeah.
Yeah. So the only reason I bring that up is because they had a very good introduction of Overhaul. Because you just seeing that, you're like, wow, he's like about to dismantle the League of Villains. This guy is ridiculously strong. And then later you find out he's even stronger. So I just wanted to point out, they introduced that very well. It's like, holy shit, this guy could probably like easily kill, like, maybe not Aizawa. It'd be close to Aizawa would have to erase his quirk and immediately snap his neck or something, or he would just fucking get killed. Like, this guy is strong. And they introduced that like pretty well. And then later it's like, you don't even know the half of it. Like, they introduced another half to his power.
And just to take a second, because Overhaul is, like, one of my favorite, like, manga characters in general. I hate that he got basically killed off. I hate that fucking... Like, he's my profile picture and everything for the channel. Like, I love the internship arc. I love Overhaul. And just, like, the thing I love about Overhaul is just how, like, calm and collect he is. Like, he doesn't... A lot of villains are, like, way too aggressive.
Even in his final moments, he is still just like...
Yeah, you don't see like mental he is like mentally insane, but you don't.
He knew what he had to do though at all times.
Yeah, he's very strategic.
Sometimes you have that, but you still see like a little bit of panic or whatever.
The chess. He's trying to get Shigaraki to play chess. Remember that?
Yeah.
Like.
But yeah, he definitely the kind of guy. Like, he is the calmest person we've seen. Even moments before he died, he's just like, well, I'm gonna fucking die. Like. He was definitely a realist, so to say. He just knew, like, he was very analytical, and he knew whenever there's nothing he could do, there's nothing he could do, and why worry kind of deal. So I like that as a character. I think it made him a really good villain because of that. because because he was so realistic, he would explore every option there was, every possibility, and then try to his best to manipulate it into his favor. So,
Yeah.
I liked him a lot. But let's actually go to the internship arc now.
Okay, Night Eye. Night Eye is a character. He's amazing. They make you like hate him
Yeah,
at the beginning.
I was talking to him as I read it. Like as soon as I
Yeah.
met him, like, dude, Night Eye ain't nothing. I hate this. I hate this motherfucker. I'm not about it. And I like he even made me hate Miro a little bit. I was like, because obviously Miro's like basically the spoiled child. Eventually Miro's gonna. I thought that eventually you're gonna find out like it's all a front, that Miro like also thinks he should have had all for or one for all, and he was just like trying to be nice, like for civility reasons. But in reality, like Miro's just actually nice. But yeah, initially they make Night Eye look like just a fucking asshole. And to be fair, he kind of is an asshole initially. So I mean, like
Yeah. But he's an amazing character, and you really like.
Oh, he
he
comes
dies,
around,
and it really hurts
Yeah.
when he dies. And his quirk is it's so interesting. It's so good. Like, especially like, because like it doesn't give him physical advantage. It's all mental. So he's fighting you like kind of know like he's.
But he's fucking ripped, as you find out later. He is ripped. He is definitely
I don't remember.
Whenever he goes to fight, again, I can't remember. All of the characters look in the Inner 8 for the Yakuza.
Yeah.
They look so similar.
I can't remember their names.
Either they made a duplicate, like Twice made a duplicate of Rappa. Do you remember him? That's who Fat Gum and Kirishima fight. Either they fought the duplicate Rappa, which I don't think that's the case because like they destroyed him, or Night Eye fought the duplicate Rappa because they mentioned maybe making a duplicate. See, whenever you read so much, it just meshes together and you forget. But either he fought Rappa, who was like a monster, like he was ridiculous,
like that, yeah.
or that was someone who was similar. But regardless, whoever Night Eye fought, whenever they were trying to get inside, that guy was ripped. It looked like he was the size of Rappa if it wasn't him, and he just had that stamp, that little 5 kilogram stamp on his hand, and he was like. It might look like just a stamp, but like it actually weighs a lot. But whenever that happens, the reason that you know he's ripped is because he punches that guy and sends him into a wall. But his shirt's like unbuttoned, like not the top one, but everything below. You just see like a 12-pack.
Oh my god!
Like he's just ripped. He is like he could definitely throw it down. You wouldn't think someone like him because he looks so skinny. You'd think that he'd be like the strategist and like try to play a little more passive or fight passive, but. No, he just like goes straight for the jugular. Like he is definitely more of a close quarters brawler type, and he showed it.
Kind of like Azawa. Like Azawa, he has his quirk that gives him his advantage, but then
he
actually
still
deals
goes
damage, you have to fucking like go hand to hand.
Which is an interesting point for later with Shinzo. Yeah, so Night Eye's introduced. You dislike him at first.
The flashback with All Might and everything.
So
that's
Midoriya,
emotional, when he's like All Might's in like the hospital.
Yeah, and Midoriya like
and
obviously is
like,
unhappy.
crying.
Yeah, Midoriya's unhappy. It was never told to him, and then All Might's like, well, I didn't have a reason to tell you. Like why anyone else was maybe gonna get one for all. It was irrelevant. Like at the end, I decided you. So.
Oh, the mirror. You talking about the mirror thing?
Yeah.
Oh, he's gonna give Miro.
That was the thing though. Like he learns under Night Eye and Miro that. Miro was supposed to get one for all, so then he goes to question All Might about it, and All Might's like, "Well, I made my choice. It doesn't really matter, does it?"
That shocked me.
What?
Mirio gonna like that.
That he was gonna get one for all.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah.
He'd be the strongest one for all user of all time. Like he'd surpass even like what Midoriya is gonna be.
We'll debate that later.
Because just add one more quirk to Midoriya.
But it's about the potential.
But Mirio had a quirk. That was like unusable.
But what if he can't complete one for all anyways?
You said earlier that Mirio was a spoiled child. Mirio's quirk is like
I thought that he
darkness.
I thought he was spoiled in the sense that he was just told the entire time by Night Eye like, hey, you're gonna get one for all. So he was just expecting it, and then whenever he wasn't, he was gonna be like a whiny bitch, which obviously he wasn't. But that's why
Mirio never knew.
He didn't? Oh, no, that's true. Yeah, he told him.
Later on, but I know what you're saying.
Yeah. But at the time, I didn't know that. I just assumed that he was in on it. Anyway, so all of that happens, and Night Eye decides to take him in, obviously, because he was basically a knockoff Gran Torino. But he's like, Yeah, I was so slow because I didn't want to ruin your limited edition All Might poster.
Tapestry, yeah.
Yeah, so it made him crack a smile, and he's like, all right, I'll accept you. So, he gets taken in, and then they're patrolling the streets, and secretly, like, they're patrolling, like, to the public, but secretly they're actually trying to look into the Yakuza revival that might possibly happen, but they just don't have enough info to warrant just, like, murdering him on set or, like, going in and raiding houses and stuff. Like, there's just not enough proof, so they don't. And they bump into Overhaul on the street.
Which is one of the most iconic My Hero moments of all time.
That was crazy.
Is Deku kneeling down to help Eerie, and then Overhaul just walking out of the, and not even, he has no concern. There's two professional heroes right there, and he's just calm as fuck.
But to be fair, he just thinks they're high school students at the time, which they are, but you know what I mean. He's like, oh, you're just a couple newbies.
Well, they're in costumes. Yeah, but they're young. That's true,
so maybe that was a little bit of the reason as to why he didn't like.
I feel like even if it was in Denver, though. Just kidding. But that scene is crazy. And Midoriya immediately.
Yeah, he was immediately like, hey, something's up here. This child literally won't let go of me. She's terrified for her life. And do you see that just scene added to the Miro hate, because Miro's like, Deku, we can't, Deku. And I was like, what do you mean you can't?
It's like Nate wants to come in and do something.
Yeah, God. There's like some innocent girl who's like being abused in some way. Like, even like you are later on, obviously, like what's actually happening, but initially you just know like he's doing something to this little girl. She's like terrified for her fucking life, and she is supposed to be his daughter.
And that really sets the tone for the entire arc. Just like that moment of like.
Yeah. So ultimately they decide, like, they let her go because he puts his gloves on, which means he intended to kill those two right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, like, up until then she was resisting, but then he put his gloves on, or started to, or whatever, and she was like, okay, I'll get back.
Because Overhaul thinks that quirks are disease.
Yeah.
And he's like...
And then in reality, it goes even further, because you think initially... Again, because you think she's getting abused. You think that maybe that's just, like, something he does when he abuses her or whatever, like that's a sign. But in reality, it's not only that, but she knows that he puts gloves on to kill people, and she doesn't. You find out later, she does not want to cause people any trouble. She's always been told she's, like, cursed and a burden. So as soon as she's like, all these two people could die because of me, but I could just go get tortured for the rest of my life and they could live. So I'll do that. It's like she runs back to...
Which is a very selfless thing to do as a child. Like,
yeah, that's
Christ.
Ridiculous.
It adds so much dark. Like people think My Hero's for kids. It's really fucking not. Like gets dark.
I was gonna say it is at times. Like I can see where people can see some scenes and be like, oh, that's like goofy and laughable, and like an 8-year-old could watch this and enjoy. But then there are times like this where it's like, oh look, some little girl's been abused since she was 3. Oh, I bet an 8-year-old would enjoy that.
It's like they're lit. And
this guy gets his fingers cut off one at a time while being tortured for information. It's okay.
Okay, so they basically report the information back
to Night Eye.
They have this meeting where they basically figure out that they think that they're using, because this is something we missed. Basically, something that a big part of this arc is the quirk removing bullets.
Well, that hadn't happened yet. That happens after they bump into him. It bumps over, I'm pretty sure, to Kirishima and Fat Gum.
That's what I was going to say.
And that's the first time we see the quirk removing bullets.
And it's also the first time we see Quirk awakenings. He goes full red. Red Riot, and we didn't know at that time. We thought that maybe it was something unique to him that he didn't even know he could tap into.
Yeah, that was pretty cool too. That scene made me like Kirishima. Like initially, I was like, it's cool. He's like Bakugo's friend. Like that's fine. He's like a supporting character. But, like that scene, it's like no, he is not a support character. Like he'll probably be a top 5 hero out of UA. Honestly, he is so fucking strong.
Everybody out of 1A is going to be top 10.
And you also have memories or whatever, like at some point, maybe not now, we're talking about Bakugo character development though, and he eventually, it actually wasn't here, it was in the Rappa fight, but he has a flashback to Bakugo, and he was like complaining about his quirk, saying like, you know, I'm just hard, like what does that really get me? And Bakugo's like, you're just overthinking it. The fact that you're still standing after all the shit happens, like that's what makes you strong. So you see character development there out of Bakugo, because he's like not being a dick to at
Yeah.
least someone. Like he has human emotion. For
He's
once
actually
in
like,
his
all
life.
right, Kirishima, this is the thing.
Yeah, and it also motivates Kirishima, so you know, like they really have a friendship actually, which is pretty cool.
But yeah, you find out that the quirk-stealing bullets, they are being made out of her body pretty much.
Yeah, well, you don't find that out there yet.
No, but we can't talk about every single point.
Yeah,
we're
well,
like 25 minutes.
Well, it could be a long video though.
But there's still 3 more arcs.
Anyways, yeah, so someone shoots like a lesser bullet, it hits someone, it doesn't permanently remove the quirk because they haven't perfected it yet. But later on you find out that they have, but it's like they just had done it, right? So that happens, and then all of the, basically, a few people from UA go under the big 3, right? And coincidentally, they request, like, Night Eye requests help from other people, other agencies to take down the Yakuza, and it happens to be people that the big 3 are under, like all of them. So the big 3 and UA students all come together to form this team, along with some other professional heroes in the police force, to invade the hideout, which they have finally located.
Yes.
And Night Eye
through a teddy bear.
yeah, but Night Eye saw his future and like one of the goons from the Yakuza, and that's how he finds out where the hideout is and the layout of it. So
yeah.
Then they mount up the force and head in.
Yeah, the infiltration is super hype. Like it takes no. It's pretty fast paced. Like,
oh yeah, it literally just goes from like, we gotta find where this is at, and then it's like 1 week later. All right, Night Eye has found this goon, and he knows where this base is at, and they all get prepared, and then the next chapter, invasion. Like there is no downtime here at all.
You have a lot of interesting one, like sometimes it's one on multiple people. You have Sun Eater versus 3 other dudes.
Yeah.
You have Azawa getting some action, Fat Gun Kirishima with the sword and shield. You have Mirio going on ahead. Which is like,
that was a very, very awesome part. I like that a lot.
That he can just go on ahead because he can.
Well, not even just that. Just not only that. Like I knew I figured he'd go on ahead or like at least scout ahead for him because it was quirk. But the fact that he goes ahead and then he's like, not only am I going to go ahead, I'm going to fight 3 people, one of which is Chizaki, at the same time.
Mirio
for 20 minutes.
Mirio versus Overhaul.
10 of those minutes he ain't got a quirk.
That fight is insane, dude. Even okay, so like.
So we should back up.
He's messing him up.
Yeah.
He's messing him the fuck
Yeah, but to
up,
be fair, Overhaul hadn't actually done the absorption yet. And I feel like Mira might have been a little outclassed at that point if he did absorption. But to be fair, the only reason someone could handle it, we'll get into that later.
Well, people still don't know, like, if Chisaki, when he like combines himself with something, if he actually is taking anything more than the physical form. Like
even then, that's still like, for someone who's as strategic and analytical as him, that's still very, very helpful to have extra limbs.
Yeah, but I was just saying though that people don't know if he can actually use like that person from the 8, like his quirk and shit.
I don't think so, but I think it does make him stronger.
I don't think so either.
I think it makes him physically stronger though.
It does, but it also like it
Wait, I think they also say that he actually
makes him a bigger target.
I think they also say he can't actually use his own quirk through their limbs, like whenever he combines. I think they point that out. I think. Again, I've read a lot.
If he could, that'd be insane.
But anyways, yeah. So they mount up, get ready to go in. They go in. Mira runs off ahead. Someone can control cement, and he's like making a labyrinth, making it hard for them to get through, trying to separate them, and eventually they run into 3 of the inner 8, and Sun Eater decides he will fight them alone, and it is a very, very good fight. Especially, like, I thought the Kraken was going to finish that fight whenever because that was like a really cool ultimate, like, finisher move.
Yeah. And
then, it just wasn't enough, and like, he decides, he's like, I'm not giving up, and he eats a part of one of them, and then uses it against him. That was pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
And he finally, like, has confidence a little bit, which is good. Because he's so strong, it sucked to see someone like him move the whole time.
Yeah,
but that happens.
He is strong as fuck.
People,
I like him and Miri's friendship.
This whole arc is going to be so good animated.
Oh my
I cannot wait.
I can't fucking wait, dude. They've waited a long time to do it, dude. They've waited a long time.
As long as they make it good, I'll wait 10 years, honestly.
Yeah, it's coming out in October. It'll be. I'll probably review the episodes.
Cannot wait.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. So that happens. People push on ahead. Eventually, Kirishima and Fat Gun get separated into a chamber that has Rappa, which is like this big brawler, and I can't remember the other guy's name, but his quirk is like force fields, right? Something along those lines. Invisible barriers. And they have a fight. That's a very good fight. Not going to get into that a whole lot, but it's supposed to be like sword and spear versus, shield and sword, shield and spear, right? Yeah, shield and spear versus shield and shield, because Fat Gum and Kirishima are both very defensive.
Yeah.
And they overcome the shield and spear combo they have because Fat Gum turns into a spear. But anyways, it was a very good fight. I actually liked it a lot because I've been enjoying Kirishima. It even made me like Fat Gum a bit. I kind of think he's boring actually, but up until that point. But now I can see why he's like a decent ranked hero, because he can actually be strong as well by converting the...
He does good work in Vigilantes.
Yeah, so
he's a major character.
That was a cool fight. That happens, but like Kirishima's in fucking dire straits. Fat Gum's even like pretty injured. He's not like dying, but like he's not going to fight anymore. So then we cut back to Ozawa and Midoriya, where who do they fight? They're fighting... I think they're still just trying to look for the guy in the wall, because they finally pieced together the guy in the wall is close. Like, he has to be close to manipulate it. So they're looking for him.
Ozawa has to actually see his body to make him still out.
They're looking around for him, and then you see the League of Villains finally come into play. Toga and Twice are both there, and they decide like they're actually there just to wreak havoc and like destroy that organization because they're not happy. So they do that by basically they intentionally piss off the guy in the wall, and Toga immediately like exposes him pretty easily. Then he falls down right in front of Ozawa and Midoriya, right, and then they just like they beat the fuck out of him.
Yeah.
Then, all the while, something that's important about this that I appreciated, Ozawa, he's fighting, but it's a lot more Midoriya fighting, and he's there to actually support him. So it really shows Midoriya's growth. Go back to the last time Ozawa and Midoriya fought, even kind of side by side. That'd be what, USJ? They didn't fight side by side. Even like they watch Ozawa get ripped limb from limb basically by Noma. So they just came such a long way, where he's now fighting alongside of his teacher, which I appreciated a lot. So they're there, they're fighting. Eventually, Ozawa gets separated. Or no, they get into the chamber, don't they, with Chizaki first, right? And then...
So doesn't Midoriya break through?
With Ozawa. With Ozawa. And then So eventually they get to the chamber where Chizaki's at, and two other of the Inner Eight, one of which he trusts a lot. Like Chizaki trusts one of them a lot. And then you find out that's where you find out Mirror's been fighting for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's even more, but like for a very long time, 3-on-1, easily holding his own against Chizaki.
Oh my God.
And
it's like a fucking beast.
He loses his quirk in that fight though, eventually. They keep trying to shoot, and for a while...
Because and they only had so many bullets left, instead of shooting at him because they kept missing,
they shot at the girl.
Eri,
and obviously he had to save her.
And he basically knew that there was, that wasn't just a regular, and he still did it.
Yeah, so he went
ahead.
ahead.
To save one girl.
Yeah, so he goes, saves Eri, and results in losing his quirk, and he still fights them, literally just based on... Because he was under Night Eye, and Night Eye's whole thing is like predicting your opponent's movements. And of course Miria initially is like, well, of course you can do that, you're Night Eye, like you can literally see into the future. And he's like, you can too, you just need experience. And he like takes that as like a law. He's literally predicting like 5 moves ahead. And so he can hold his own against them without a quirk. It's crazy.
It is crazy.
He's really, like, that really proves his strength. But then...
He could still be here without a quirk, pretty much.
Yeah. Then Midoriya and Night Eye both get there, and Ozawa, like, all of them, they culminate into one location. Night Eye tries to fight Chizaki, and he manipulates the ground to, like, pierce him, and it, like, rips off an arm and pierces his stomach. Like, he's literally bleeding out on the battlefield. Like, he is hurt big time. So they've managed to, like, save him. They break the spike. It's, like, literally in his chest. They're carrying him with a spike in his chest because they know he'll bleed out if they take it out. So, like, they're carrying him. They're like, get him to safety. And then they get Mira takes Eri to safety while Midoriya is fighting Chizaki. And then Eri, that's where you finally understand, like, the mental abuse that she's had, because she knows that if she runs away, more people could die. So she goes back after Mira, like, carries her away. She runs back knowing that people are going to die if she doesn't. Also assuming Shizaki will, like, mend everything, which obviously he wouldn't because he's a villain. But so she goes back. Midoriya saves her. They bust open into the surface. But before that happens, that's when Ozawa gets captured.
Yeah.
By the drunk guy. But they want to keep him alive because he has an erasure quirk, and they're interested in it. So Midoriya goes to the surface while Ozawa was captured and is fighting.
And then there was Uraka and
Oh yeah,
and
they
the
came
big
in.
3 girl.
Yeah, and Sue, right?
Yeah.
They're all there. How I said, everyone culminates at the very end. Anyone who hasn't been injured to the point that they can't fight, they're all there. So like Sun Eater's not there, Kirishima, Fat Gum, they're too hurt. But anyone who can fight is fighting. So all of those guys culminate there. Mainly focus on just getting people out to safety, people who aren't dead yet. And then they bust open to the surface, and Midoriya realizes that, like, they finally understand Erie's quirk, that it rewinds or progresses forward. So they had it. Midoriya ties her to his back and says, "What?" There it is. There it is. Yeah, he literally ties her to his back, and he's going to use her quirk to rewind while he's using full Callan 100%. So she is rewinding his body as fast as he's damaging it. But the catch is, if he damages too much, obviously he's in bad news, in bad shape. It's not good. But if he doesn't damage enough either, he will lose his quirk. Cause like that was the whole concept. So like it's a very delicate balance while fighting for his fucking life. He's just probably one of the strongest people we've seen.
He's just hoping that the Erie thing will work.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it's definitely a situation where it's like do or die. Like it's if I don't do this, it doesn't matter. Then in the end, we're gonna die. Might as well try. Yeah. And he knows that because Midoriya is smart.
Yeah. So I would see if I was him, I would have full Callan just like a few blocks away.
Yeah. But yeah, so he's fighting, and he finally manages. Like it is an intense fucking battle. I'm trying to speed things up a little bit, but it's a very intense battle. Eventually beats Shizaki, doesn't kill him, but beats him, and they secure the quirk stealing bullets. I want to say there's quirk giving bullets as well. I'm not sure. It was definitely talked about because Shizaki said they want to sell thugs and underground people the bullets to get rid of quirks, and then they want to sell heroes and doctors the bullets to give people with their quirk back. So I don't know.
Well, we didn't really, and we also didn't touch on the quirk enhancing, where they're shooting up to...
Oh, yeah, there's quirk enhancement. I mean, it's actually not played on that much. You only see it one other time. You see a thug in the street do it, and then you see the wall guy do it, and that's it. That's the only time.
It's heavily used in Vigilantes.
Yeah, it's not used that much here. But anyways, yeah, so he beats him. They secure both kinds of bullets if they're there. I can't remember if it has both or just one. Definitely the quirk canceling bullets, though. The police get it. But as he wins, Erie loses control of her quirk and is now, like, Midoriya is just, he doesn't have her quirk affecting him, and he's, like, destroying himself with 100% power. And just in the nick of time, Ozawa gets brought to the surface, which we didn't talk about that either. Ozawa was going to be kept alive, but the thug who had captured him knew that shit was going to rise, so he was just going to kill him. And just before Ozawa was literally stabbed and murdered, Sun Eater comes in with the swordfish he ate right before the invasion. It pierces his hand with the nose of it, so he can't kill him. Because he can't, that guy can't use his quirk unless he's moving, so he, like, pierces him and starts shaking. He's like, as long as you're moving, you can't use your quirk. Saves Ozawa, who's actually, like, still pretty injured, because he got stabbed a couple times. And Uraka carries him up to the surface to save Midoriya's life, probably, like, seconds before he fucking dies.
Yeah.
And that's the end of that fight. They're shipping Overhaul off to Tartarus, obviously, where all the villains go. And on the way, you just see Borderlands reference, by the way. I fucking love Borderlands. At the beginning of Borderlands 2, there's a psycho. He's on top of a car on the hood just fucking pounding it because he's a psycho. And that's exactly what it reminded me of, because it cuts to Shigaraki and his goons in a van, and Shigaraki's just on the fucking roof of the vehicle, like, in a hot pursuit of Overhaul. You don't see him in the
field that much.
Yeah.
Up to that point.
Yeah, and he's in a hot pursuit of Overhaul. And then he catches up to him. They manage to catch up to the transport. They get to Overhaul. That League of Villains gets the bullets that get rid of quirks, which will be important later. You know it will. That's going to come into play. So they get that, and then they cut off Overhaul's hands and let him bleed out because, well, I see you don't like that they killed him off.
I don't think they killed him.
Oh, I thought you said, but he won't use his quirk ever again.
No.
So they killed him. But you see,
a lot of people think Eerie might, he might kidnap Eerie and have her reverse him. That's just like a theory.
But you don't like that happened very much. I appreciate a lot how it's poetic how Shigaraki, who's obviously not a good dude.
I like it for Shigaraki.
But yeah, it's somehow poetic how Shigaraki captures him and he's like, since you hate quirks so much, well, it's only fitting that you don't have a quirk, right? And then he cuts his hands off so he doesn't have a quirk anymore. And I loved that so much. Because it made so much sense. It's like, yeah, this is what you reap what you sow kind of deal.
Yeah.
So that happens. That's pretty much the conclusion. Like, they come out and they're like, oh, well, Overhaul's captured. Like, in the news, they're like, he was captured by other people and they got the bullets.
And Midoriya offers Mirio his quirk.
Yeah, well, that happens. I was just saying in the aftermath of that. The news are like, yeah, it was a win, but was it? And they weigh those odds again. It seems like every time the lead or the heroes win, it's always at a cost. It's never just a win.
Oh yeah, especially when the stakes are that high.
Yeah, so they managed to. Everyone goes to the hospital, and everyone's in pretty decent shape actually, even though they suffered some pretty big injuries. Hiroshima's in dire straits. Night Eye literally is on the brink of death and does die, unfortunately. But before that happens, All Might and Mira both get to have parting words with him. And there's at least the burden on All Might's been lifted a little bit knowing that...
He's talked to him.
Well, not only that, but he always thought that Night Eye didn't like him. He hated him because he wouldn't stop being a hero. And Night Eye's like, no, you chose to do what you wanted to do, and I chose to do what I wanted to do. And that's fine. I never had any kind of grudge against you. So he gets closure. And then Miro's obviously depressed, as he should be, because his master literally just died.
It's like his is out.
But then true to Miro's character, he's like, my master told me to be happy, so I'm going to be happy. So he gets over it kind of quick. And then, no one can visit Eerie because she's she's unstable, and obviously given the quirk she has, no one should really be doing that.
She's kind of to me, she's kind of like the My Hero Academia's Phoenix. And there's this mutant that's extremely overpowered in X-Men, and she, her quirk is that she can just manipulate reality, and if she's not mentally stable at all times, she can just rewrite the entire history of the world, and I kind of feel like that about Eerie.
It's similar, yeah, for sure. She just has it's crazy, but also I'm gonna slip this in there. I gotta brag. I completely guessed right about how they got the bullets. Because Dill asked me, he's like, what do you think it is? I forget what I said at first, but it was wrong. But then I hit the nail on the head. I was right. I was like, they're using... I thought it was her blood. Maybe it is. I don't know. They never specify, but I was like, they're just taking her...
It's her skin.
They're taking her blood or something off, and then... Yeah. But anyways, so that comes to a close. That's pretty much all that there really is for that. Yeah, Midori does offer Miro's quirk, and Miro's like, no, that's yours. And you keep it.
The internship arc is so long that I think we should make... I think we're going to make another video talking about from after the internship arc to where we're currently at. So
yeah,
we're probably going to wrap this video up, guys. If you liked it, hit the like button, hit the notification bell. If you would like to join the Yakuza, what would you give the internship arc out of 10? I'd give it a 10.
Yeah, I'd probably give it a 10. I mean, I want to see more people, but it can't always have everyone. And it had the people, interesting people. I liked a lot of the people. It made me like new people. So yeah, it was good. Overhaul is probably the best villain we've seen. Shigaraki's coming into his own, but Overhaul is still he's a villain. He's one of the best villains in manga of all time, easily. So yeah, I'd say 10 out of 10 actually. This is great.
You heard it here first, guys. Season 4 is going to be amazing.